he's got to rework that muscle, the old brain muscle.
The old brain muscles. How many people in the movie The Rock used their brain muscle? It's the only muscle that was not used in this movie.
They used every other muscle in this movie. Okay, let's just get into it.
You want to just get into it? Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Eric, The Rock. It's been, probably 20 years since you last saw it?
Not even close. I think I've seen The Rock as many times as... More times than The Fugitive, which we did already, but probably not as many as Die Hard.
There's like a hierarchy of the movies you've seen a lot of, and The Rock is like right in there.
Absolutely. You haven't seen it in 20 years?
No, I mean, it came out in 1996, so it hasn't even been 20 years. I probably haven't seen it for a decade. But when it came out in 1996, I watched it probably half a dozen times at the theaters. That's not a joke.
So what'd you think after 18 years?
For the minors, we're supposed to talk about these minor characters, whatever. But for me, the main character of this movie was Alcatraz and Michael Bay, the director. Because what I realized by watching this movie is that Michael Bay has zero respect for the viewer's intelligence. He thinks we're all a bunch of idiots, and he holds our hand through the entire movie, and whatever, it works, right? He makes massive movies, but just watching this and being 10 years older than when I last watched it, I was just blown away at how little respect Michael Bay has for my intelligence.
Give me some examples.
You talked about this briefly, and I'm sure we'll get into it, but just like when they raid, at the beginning of the movie, so General Hummel, who's played by Ed Harris, raids this army facility where they steal the chemicals from. And just the raid is done in such an idiotic fashion. They come in with these darts that won't kill anybody. And then you're the one that had this great line. Is they go up to the door, this super secure door. It's like a 5-foot steel door. And you basically have a Holiday Inn key to open it. And... And it's such a classic movie, these action movies, where they have to show how bad everything is, so they scare you. And obviously, Michael Bay is going to show you what happens when the poison actually gets released. Within 5 minutes, it's burning some guy's face off. And I mean, yes, it's a typical move, but it's every step of the way. He's basically saying, "This is what's going to happen, and this is why it's so bad, and look how scary everything is."
Yeah, that line I actually wrote that down. I have it written down here, where he goes,
"The access card, sir."
Yeah. And he hands him a little plastic hotel key card, and then that's it. Just opens up the door to nukes.
What a throwaway line. Michael Bay's sitting there with his screenwriters, and he's like, "Guys, I don't know if this is very clear yet. What is he actually giving to the general right now?"
The opening raid really sets the scene for the whole movie, though. Like you said, they just lay out everything as clear as possible. But the little things really killed me. For example, out of about 30 people on that raid, did you notice that exactly one guy is wearing blackface? There was one guy painted as if he's going in camo, and then there's 29 other guys just dressed totally normally.
No, I actually didn't catch that. You must have shit yourself when you saw that.
Yeah, I was dying. It's the guy who was the evil scientist from 12 Monkeys. You know that guy?
Yeah, I remember that guy. So he's the one with the blackface.
Yeah, the number 2 in command. And they go total mercenary style. I wasn't going to bring this up so early because we just did the opening scene, but I'm going to jump kind of towards the end. These guys who have given their life to service of the United States, protecting people,
yeah,
and, saving lives, right? They did this all for a total of $100 million. I think about 80 was going to
the
families. And these guys were going to get $1 million each and live in a non-extradition country, right? So for $1 million each, it's really not that much money to never come back to your home country, a country that you've sworn to protect and you obviously love. So, some of these guys look like they're about 25. So you're living in Uruguay with $1 million.
So you're calling this a massive loophole. This is a massive logical loophole.
Well, no. Yeah, I didn't even get to the point, though, that I wanted to make, which is that, first of all, $1 million each.
Is nothing.
Okay, for 25 to live the rest of your life in another country is a stretch really for anybody, but especially for guys like this. But the leap that I was just blown away by was when they started being like,
"Then maybe we need to execute a few hostages."
And even that, okay. So now they're full blown. These guys are nothing but money. Full blown mercenaries. Let's knock off a few prisoners in order to get the $1 million that we're going to live off for the rest of our life. But then they want to launch the rockets and kill. They went from killing one prisoner to killing 80,000 civilians in San Francisco for $1 million. Do you realize what they did?
Yes.
They just sold off at $12 a head.
Yes.
All downtown Bay Area for like 3 cappuccinos a person. That's the cost that they're going for here. That's the value of an American life to these guys after they've just sworn their whole life to protect people.
That's an incredible. I mean, I caught on a little bit about how extreme it was getting, but you just mapped out it literally escalated so quickly. And you know, the time frame that they give for the movie is like a 24-hour window, right? So these guys went from, like you said, honoring the country, willing to die for the United States, to willing to kill for $12 a head.
Yeah, with the in-between step of let's execute a few hostages. So it goes from we're sworn to protect this country to maybe we'll kill one person to I'll slaughter Americans at $12 a head.
You actually want to know what it reminds me of? You just told me now is our last episode we did Back to the Future, and we talked about how Biff kind of went from like this, you know, misunderstood high school bully into full-on rapist / kidnapper. So the Marines, the mercenaries in The Rock are basically Biff from Back to the Future. That's how quickly they turn. It happens in all these movies, though, man. You know, it's absurd. It's absurd. I completely agree with you.
Yeah, so there's such a clear definition between the team of mercenaries here, between the guys who are willing to off Americans at $12 a head versus General Hummel, who's so honorable. You're right, they go through every possible step to make this guy likable. From the opening scene where he's talking to his dead wife, Barb.
Let's go right now. Let's list every reason, every way they try to make Hummel honorable.
You know which one which I like the most, though, that I was laughing at, is that he goes up, when he first reaches The Rock, he goes up to 2 little kids, and he's like,
"Hey, girls. Hi, you all having a good time? Yeah. Will you do something for me? It's really important. I need you to tell your teacher that you need to get back on the boat and go right now."
As if some teacher's gonna listen to a 6-year-old.
No, I did.
That really got them off The Rock. The kids go to the teacher like some random guy told us we should leave, so then she takes the whole class home because the kids weren't even there later.
No, they were not. So I want to emphasize this for the viewers or the listeners that have seen The Rock or plan to watch it soon. Really watch how Michael Bay treats Hummel. Again, I want to get back to your first point. Within 5 minutes of the movie, General Hummel is at his wife's grave, and he's apologizing to her for what he's about to do.
There's something I've got to do, Barb. Something I couldn't do while you were here.
Michael Bay, thank you for holding my hand on this. I don't know how to feel about General Hummel yet. Let me wait till we get to The Rock. So we get to The Rock, and you just describe exactly what happens. He goes up to 2 little girls, and we're supposed to think, wow, General Hummel is such a caring guy. He's going to make sure these 2 little girls don't get into harm's way. And it's like you said, though, what are the odds that the teacher is going to respond to that? I have 2 little... Dude, can you imagine going on a field trip and telling your teacher... Because I've been on a number of field trips, and whenever I open my mouth, he basically just tell me to shut my mouth and look straight.
Yeah, that's the thing. If Hummel was a good guy, wouldn't he have told the teacher?
Yeah, go to the teacher.
Go to the teacher, pull out a gun, say, "Get the fuck out of here." Then you're a good guy.
Let's play this out. Let's play out what happens. The kid goes up. "Hi, teacher. The man in the denim jacket over there just said that we should leave the island." "Shut up, Clarice. Get in line. I'm going to call your mother. You're always causing problems for us."
But in the world of this movie, it worked because they were gone.
And then at the end of the movie, Hummel diverts the rocket. So, you know, this guy's a good guy, and he goes down, you know, in true colors. Okay, so we talked about Hummel. We talked about the absurdity of Michael Bay. Let's talk about actually who's probably the best character in this movie. Is probably John Patrick Mason. Is Sean Connery's character. The former British, I don't even know, what do they call British Marines?
I think he said it. I don't remember.
No, he did. Yeah, he's like,
The Queen something,
yeah.
maybe.
Actually, for listeners, I wanted to preface this by saying that about 30 minutes ago, before we started recording, Eric actually asked me, "How do you speak like Sean Connery?" And then he's like, "Wait a second, I'm just gonna Google it."
I was Googling it because there was something I wanted to do. And if you do Google it, the only advice it gives you is to pronounce your S's like SH's. So that you know.
Good speed.
I
Good
saw
speed.
something interesting.
Stanley Goodspeed.
Yeah. And the reason that I wanted to know how to talk like him was because I was going to try and drop a line like he does, which is that he's fighting against one of the bad guys at one point towards the end of the movie, and the bad guy's beating the shit out of him, and he goes,
English prick. I tell you, my old man was Irish.
That's so out of left field.
so out of left field, and I was like, oh, it's clearly a setup. It's a Michael Bay setup.
Yeah.
They're setting up Sean Connery here to drop one of the best lines ever, and I was racking my brain because I couldn't think of what the line was. I was like, holy shit, what's he going to say? How do I not know this line? And he doesn't drop any line. He just kills the guy and then walks away. And I was like, what the fuck? They just set him up for the best line ever.
That's so true, right? Like,
yeah, so they just set him up for this total one-liner, and then it walked away, and I think I realized what happened, which is that I think that Sean Connery probably went so fucking hard on the Irish that they had to cut the line.
like he just ad-libbed the line, like being like...
Yeah. Like, oh, is your father a drunken bedwetter, you know? Like, something like just shredding Irish people for being drunks or something that was actually, it probably made the rating like in NC-17 just based on what he said there.
So they went from R to NC-17.
Because if you watch that again, you'll see it's just the ultimate Michael Bay setup for a major one-liner, and they don't pay it off.
Even for Michael Bay's sensitivities, it was too much.
Yeah.
What's funny about all these older actors like Al Pacino, De Niro, like Pacino basically plays the same actor every movie now, just his character from Scent of a Woman. He just says woo-ah and just yells at people. How great is Sean Connery's like last quarter of his career? Everybody knows he's James Bond. He's so freaking cool. He can do whatever he wants. He just shows up and he's sweet. He's like in that movie with Catherine Zeta-Jones. You remember that movie? Where he's like a spy also? He just plays James... Yeah, he just plays James Bond in every movie. So John Patrick Mason is basically just James Bond. And I freaking love it. It's hilarious.
Yeah, as soon as they show him, the whole sequence getting him out of prison is really awesome. And I actually was checking on the IMDb trivia after I watched it, and they wanted Schwarzenegger for the role.
Oh, no.
That would have been terrible.
It would not have been good. Two things. Arnold was way too at the peak of his powers at that point.
Yeah, to be in solitary for 30 years and just coming out looking like the Hulk.
Get out of here. No chance. No, this is perfectly casted, man. He made this movie. He 100% made the movie. And obviously he has the other great line with Goodspeed. So I guess he's this father figure to Goodspeed. Or Goodspeed. And he's supposed to make Goodspeed into a man by the end of the movie. And they have that hilarious exchange about...
You sure you're ready for this?
I'll do my best.
Your best. Losers always whine about their best. Winners go home and fuck the prom queen.
Carla was the prom queen.
Obviously! Goodspeed's freaking ridiculously hot wife is the prom queen, or his freaking fiance.
That's probably why he has to light so many candles every time he has sex with her. Did you look on the roof of their house when they were going at it? There were easily 150
candles.
I
had two comments about Stanley Goodspeed and his ridiculously hot fiance. Number one is Michael Bay again spoon-feeding us to show how big of a puss Stanley Goodspeed is. He makes the girlfriend propose to him. That's number one. Number two is this. So he's boning her on the roof of the building, as you just alluded to. And he gets a call from Washington. And he stops boning her and doesn't finish. Bullshit. Biggest plot hole in the entire movie. I don't bought that for 1 second. Really? Really, bro? She is... Dude, she is
What you're
ridiculous.
saying is you would let downtown San Francisco go up in flames to finish that session. That's what you're telling me.
To finish. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. No, okay, whatever. phone call. Okay, I get it. It's an emergency. But after that, you have a flight 3 hours from now. You can't finish. He can't finish for two. She's like, you can't finish, and he actually says, no, I can't. That to me is the most unbelievable part of this movie. Not the V1 gas, not the $1 million per head, not these mercenaries that are freaking going from, protecting the country to killing everybody. It's Stanley Gertspiel's refusal to nut in his ridiculously attractive fiancée.
Yeah, I don't know if a prom queen would put up with that.
Losers don't finish while they're boning their prom queens. The other thing about Stanley Mason that I want to talk about, John Mason. So he's a master of breaking out of things, clearly. And before I get into this diatribe I'm about to go off on, to demonstrate how good of a breaker-outer he is, in Alcatraz, they have to set up this ridiculous furnace system where there's flames that can blow you up. So viewers, you probably remember he rolls himself underneath these flames to get into the rock, the Alcatraz. And what he does before he does it kills me. He puts a balaclava on his face. As if the balaclava is going to prevent you from being completely annihilated.
That is such a good sequence. When he goes in, I love that whole part.
That's the best line in the movie, when he comes in and comes out.
And then they go in, though, and they made underneath Alcatraz, there's just wheels turning everywhere.
Yeah.
You see that? There's just, gears. The only thing going on underneath Alcatraz are mazes where wheels keep turning.
The constant thing, shit's just constantly turning.
And flames are just being shot off in random directions.
That's so, I could totally tell the studio's just or Michael Bay's in there with his team of 100 writers.
How can we make this place shittier?
Yeah. Or he's like this. Okay, how can we make Alcatraz a piece of shit? And I need a scene to really demonstrate how big of a badass John Mason is. So he has a scene where Mason destroys San Francisco in a vehicle.
In a Humvee.
Oh man. Okay, so John Mason he's money, okay? There's a couple of things I want to ask about him, but basically it's a Michael Bay movie, so there's no point in trying to rationalize things. If he really wanted to start a relationship with his daughter, there's probably a million different ways in what he did. He probably could have just gone into hiding after he had escaped from the hotel instead of blowing up the entire city of San Francisco. But that's just me. So who I want to talk about was Michael Biehn. And for a lot of listeners here, especially if you're below the age of 25, you're probably not going to know who Michael Biehn is, but you've probably seen a lot of the movies he's in or know they're classics. So in a 12-year span, Michael Biehn is like a modern-day Tom Hardy. He just hasn't broken through yet to be the leading man. Because he did Terminator in 1984. He did Aliens in 1986. He did The Abyss in 1989. He did Navy SEAL in 1990. Tombstone in 1993. And The Rock in 1996. These are killer movies. He's really good looking. He's really charismatic. And he's really likable. I don't understand how he never became a major superstar.
I'm looking through his credits right now, and he's still in a ton of stuff, but nothing that I've ever seen. So what was his downfall? Where's his downfall?
I don't know, but last year he was in a movie called Tapped Out about a disgruntled teenager sent to do community service at a rundown karate school. He enters an MMA tournament to face the man who killed his parents. So this is the type of movie that Michael Biehn now stars in.
Well, 1 year after The Rock, he was already doing TV movies.
Yeah, that is
and a movie called Dead Men Can't Dance.
That is not the ideal career trajectory. So I'm likening him to a guy like Tom Hardy, who I effing love, and every movie that Tom Hardy's in, like Inception or Dark Knight Rises, I freaking love it. But he's never really taken it to the next level. He's never been I guess Christian Bale would be a contemporary.
I think Tom Hardy took it to a level above this guy, though.
Yeah, with Bane, right? And Inception.
Basically, everything after Terminator was kind of downhill.
He didn't have a major... He was Kyle Reese from Terminator.
He had the lead in Terminator, and then everything after that... He's also in K2. Have you ever seen that?
Michael Biehn? Oh, the climbing movie, yeah.
Yeah, I used to love that movie.
Alright, so that was my 2 cents on Michael Biehn. I'm done with movie characters. I'm actually a little shocked that we didn't talk more about John Mason.
Well, we still can, but there is a character that I wanted to talk about that we haven't discussed yet, and that's the character of Stacy Richards, who is Jade Angelou's friend, which is the most useless character of all time in any movie ever, and is clearly only in this movie for one of two reasons. And that's either because Michael Bay was trying to fuck her, or Jerry Bruckheimer was trying to fuck her. I want to know, which one do you think yelled at the writers, get this girl a role in The Rock?
Give listeners context on this character.
This character, when he goes to meet Jade Angelou,
His daughter, his estranged
his daughter, she comes with a friend.
Yes, and they're both smoking hot.
Smoking hot, and he says, Jade, and she goes,
No, Stacy. Jade's friend.
and then he goes, oh, well, let me talk to Jade. And then Stacy leaves. That's her only fucking line. It's the first movie she's ever been in, ever, and she has one other shitty credit after this.
Dude,
so, she has no place in this movie, no acting career, nothing. Was clearly just thrown in because it's either Bruckheimer or Bay was after her.
This is so brilliant. I didn't even think of that. This is totally what... No, she does have another line. She goes, if you need me, I'll be waiting over here. This is so true, though. She is...
Because they had to get her off screen.
Yeah, she is completely useless. Michael Bay was 100% banging the other character, and he wanted a threesome. Listeners, go to the 13-minute mark of this movie if you want to see two girls that Michael Bay 100% has had sex with.
I like your theory. Your theory is that he was trying to get Jade to bring her in on the action.
Yeah, totally, man. Oh, that is beautiful. I'm really glad we talked about such a substantive character in this movie.
I actually checked her. She doesn't even have a photo on IMDb.
This is what's funny, because all these useless models, quote-unquote actors, who are really just prostitutes in LA, that are trying to get into the Hollywood game, they all at least take care to put their photos up on IMDb. She doesn't even have a photo on IMDb. Oh my god, this movie is they need to make a making of The Rock. I need to see that. Maybe they have. I don't know. Maybe it's on the DVD extras. Okay, I want to get to quotes, but if you have anything else you want to talk about, hit that. I want to get into the quotes.
Yeah, I'll go to a few things, and some of them have to do with quotes, though, because one of them is my favorite line from the movie, but it's also the entire scenario. So it's not just about the line, it's about Michael Bay being Michael Bay, which is when they're in the command center, and they're discussing strategies. The military is discussing strategies for how to deal with the terrorists on The Rock, right?
Yeah.
So they come up with different strategies. And one of them, when he's presenting, he says, an aerial attack is ruled out. We can't do an aerial attack. Do you remember why?
Oh, the missiles weren't ready.
No.
A nighttime airdrop incursion is out due to the full moon.
Come on!
Then they just move on to the next thing.
Wait.
The full moon. That's why they don't go in the air, is because there's a full moon.
You know what? I'm not a computer programmer, but I can just I want to ask computer programmers, do you guys just like lose your mind when you're watching these movies and there's all these logic bombs everywhere? Like, you know how computer programmers, everything's got to fit in? Like, nothing can be... What's happening when a computer programmer watches a movie and the full moon is stopping an aerial attack? Do they just stop the movie and just say, fuck this, I'm done? Or, like, what do they do? Like, this is so incomprehensible. I don't have a very analytical mind, so this doesn't bother me as much.
But the line is so great because, well, there are a few reasons. One, an aerial attack is out of the question because of the full moon. It implies that I guess that because of the full moon, they'll see the planes coming. Something like that. But then, at the end of the movie, they go in the air in broad daylight.
Yeah.
So the jets at the end come at noon. So if you can go in at noon, I think the light from the full moon shouldn't really give away the plan. Or maybe there's something else to do with the full moon that is like a military secret that we don't know about.
It has to do with the tide, obviously. The tide is too high.
So that's why they go in under the water.
Yeah, obviously.
So now, just going on that is a line that could be used. I was laughing at that line with my roommate in college more than 10 years ago, and we used to use it for everything. Like you're going to go to class tomorrow and be like, Can't, man. Full moon. You know,
Dude, that's it.
just for anything you don't want to do, we'd be like, there's a full moon.
Listeners, if you're first time to this, a little thing we like to do is take movies from these really, I mean, in The Rock's case, terribly bad good movies, and just take these quotes and use them completely out of context. So I believe Eric's use of, it's a full moon. This is brilliant.
Anytime there's something you don't want to do, I think the full moon gives a pretty good reason for not
I can't
doing
do it. And then honestly, if you really wanted to build it, you could really blame the tide. Yeah, it's the tide, man. It's just something about the moon pull, whatever. It's weird. I can't deal with that. I just Googled The Rock IMDb, and Dwayne Johnston came up first. If I'm Michael Bay, I'd be pissed about that. Michael Bay, figure this out. Dwayne Johnston comes first. Also, Google. When I Googled GM, General Motors comes first. Gmail should come first. I'm giving you guys free advice right now.
When I was looking for the YouTube clip before, I Googled The Rock Showdown, and I didn't even realize, but the first 10 pages are
WWE?
videos of The Rock.
That's
Wrestling,
hilarious. The Rock at SummerSlam. The Rock at WrestleMania. Oh, that's a good one, man. Okay, fuck it. Let's go into quotes because I got really excited. All right, real life uses of stupid quotes from this movie out of context. All right, the first quote, and maybe the only quote I have, is, listeners, when you're watching about 35 minutes in, when General Humble and his team of mercenaries get onto The Rock, they conveniently, everybody steps into the cells because obviously that's part of the tour, and instead of having to write an extra 10 pages about rounding up all these extra guests, everybody steps into the cell, and Ed Harris just closes a cell on them, and now they're trapped. He's locked in, and like an hour later, they come back to all the tourists in the jail cells, and he goes, "What kind of fucked up tour is this?" And I was just thinking, anytime anybody ever goes on to any type of tour on vacation, and you know how when you go on tours, they always make you go to the spots that they've prearranged where you gotta buy shit? Like, I went to Sri Lanka once, and I was supposed to go to, like, a really nice national park, but our driver took us, like, an hour detour away to a gemstone store, because he clearly had a deal with the gemstone dealer that he would get, like, 10% of the cut if we bought something. What if he had pulled up to the gemstone store, and I'd just be like, "What kind of fucked up tour is this?"
I love that line.
What kind of fucked up tour is this?
And there's some Asian guy behind him just nodding in approval.
Yeah.
Like, I agree. This tour is pretty fucked up.
All right, so what type of quote do you want to talk about?
All right, there's a quote I love, and it's when Hummel calls the Pentagon, and he gives them his little speech, and he goes,
You alert the media. I launch the gas.
and then there's another one he says right after that. I don't remember what it is.
So how would you...
Do you know what it is?
No, I don't know, but how will you play this in real life?
If somebody's about to do something you don't like, and you gotta rip some ass, you just give them. If you touch that bag of chips,
I launch the gas.
Like, you're threatening them.
Yeah.
It's like, oh no, change the channel. You change that channel. I want to watch this game. I'm watching the rest of this game.
You change the channel.
I launch the gas.
Dude, this is brilliant, man. Let's talk a bit about the VX gas, actually. I want to talk about, again, this goes back to Michael Bay's spoon-feeding the audience. What do you think the series of question was when he went to his team of 100 writers and he was like, I want you guys to give me the most dangerous chemical in the world, and it has to make your face puff up with warts. He's like, I got an idea. All right, I got it. It's like this green gas that's in like a plastic circle that easily explodes, because let's put the most dangerous substance in the world into an easily pregnantable plastic little tube and a plastic ball.
Yeah, why do those balls shatter so
And
easily?
the other muttbag writers like, yeah, let's do that.
They also do, as Goodspeed tells you, the elegant string of pearls configuration.
Yeah.
One of them just like falls off. It happens
they just
several
fall.
times. Why do these things keep falling off?
What is the purpose of the elegant string of pearls?
Why not just stick them securely in the rocket?
Yeah, is it structurally more sound when they're in pearls? It doesn't look like it.
And then when one falls off at the end,
Yeah,
and
dude.
there's a villain there, do you know what he does with it?
He hides
puts it
it
in his pocket.
Dude, holy shit!
Instead of hiding it in the corner of the room, he puts it in his pocket and then goes straight into hand-to-hand combat.
How idiotic is the pearl design for the most dangerous chemical in the world? All right, there's one more quote, and it's actually an obvious one. If people don't remember it, this one has hashtag Twitter gold written all over it, and it's the line where Stanley Goodspeed, Nicolas Cage's character, is the first time he's confronted by a black soldier, and the black soldier tells him,
I take pleasure in gutting you, boy.
and then Goodspeed just sits in his cell by himself and just keeps on reiterating it. Oh, that was really nice what that guy said to me earlier.
I take pleasure in gutting you, boy. I'll take pleasure in gutting you, boy.
I'm trying to think about how we could integrate that into real life.
It's really fucking raunchy, but if you change the I can imagine Newell saying that to a girl.
Yeah, getting guts.
Yeah.
Oh, dude. Oh, fair enough, man. All right, so listeners, that's just one of our friends who clearly thinks that equating fornication to getting guts is standard practice. Hashtag getting guts. Hashtag gutting you, boy.
I feel like we could get him to use that line.
I take pleasure in gutting you, girl. It sounds extremely creepy and probably grounds for a sexual harassment suit.
Definitely. So maybe it has to be a gay version of Newell.
Yeah.
Who says it to another guy, and then if the guy feels sexually harassed, they'll be like, oh, you don't know that movie? It's The Rock.
You never seen
You don't like The Rock? All right. And if the guy does like The Rock, so I think that's what it is. It's a great gay pickup line. That's what we just got. We need to just find someone to use it.
We need to join Grindr and see how effective it is.
Yes. Let's do that. Let's put it on there. Let's see what kind of responses we get. I think we're going to get a good response.
Holy shit. I take pleasure in gutting you, boy. Oh my god. Alright, listeners, next episode, we're coming back at you.
Yeah.
If you see my profile on Grindr, I love everybody in this world, but no, I am engaged to a female, so that's just me doing social research. Alright, what else you got? I think I'm good.
My final line that I got that I loved, which I'm not sure if we could use it in real life because doesn't necessarily make sense, but when he's in jail and Mason is naming people, and he said, or maybe Goodspeed does, but he goes,
Alexander Solzhenitsyn.
Yeah, I heard of him. Didn't he play hockey for the fucking Red Wings?
That's a killer line, man. That's I didn't think about that. That's so true. The Red Wings in the mid-90s had Sergei Fedorov, Konstantinov, Larionov, a bunch of another Ovs. That's a great line. You actually know what's funny is because, so Solzhenitsyn, I know this because I went on a deep Wikipedia dive like 6 months ago and the name came up. He wrote the book about the gulags. So like, they're comparing John Mason to a guy that's been in a fucking gulag for 30 years. And I think that was the point that they're trying to make, but not a single person. Like, Michael Bay dropped a pretty intellectually high bit in there. Like, how many people picked up on Alexander Solzhenitsyn?
dude, I didn't even think that I knew who he was until now. I just checked, and he wrote One Day in the Life of Ivan Denisovich, which I had to read in high school, and I fucking hated. I haven't hated a book that much in my life.
Do you think Michael Bay... Okay, let's talk... Previously, we talked about why is this girl, Stacy, in this movie? So Michael Bay's clearly trying to bang her. Why do you think this line's in the movie? Did A, Michael Bay lose a bet? Did B, he really like Alexander Solzhenitsyn?
No, Stacy liked Alexander
Stacy, you know what Stacy was? She was a Russian literature student. And when he was banging her in her apartment, she would have all these books out, and he'd be like, what's that? She's like, oh, it's just somebody I'm studying.
And he probably really thought originally, he saw the name and he's like, who's this guy? Does he play for the Red Wings?
What is this, like a Red Wing forward?
And she made fun of him. So uncultured, Michael.